So it was around Christmas time. I received the call to respond to 2 wounded in action, possibly killed, over at the Wasson Market in Iraq. Upon arrival, I got out of my vehicle. I saw Sergeant Major Wilson. He was dead. He'd been shot in the face. My buddy Ravaga, he had been shot in the shoulder. The people that attacked him had then pulled him out of the vehicle, cut his throat, and killed him. We loaded them into a military Humvee, brought them to the morgue for the division, and that was the end of that. The section that I was attached to, which was a couple of gun trucks, which is made up my platoon basically, we were actually one of the first soldiers in the United States military and the first of the 101st Airborne Division to make contact with the enemy. We had reached this intersection, and as we were coming around the corner, we started receiving indirect fire, which is mortar rounds falling down on top of us. I guess the Iraqis had basically used this intersection as what's called a target reference point. They set up their mortar tubes, they aim it at that intersection, and that way, when enemy forces come through it, they can just drop these mortars on top of them and, be assured of a direct hit on their target. Fortunately for us, it was really windy that night, and I guess, as the mortar rounds were traveling through the air, they got blown off course, and so instead of landing on top of my truck, they landed about 20 feet to my left, caught some shrapnel in the face. Was pretty much blown out of the truck almost. The first person I killed was a sniper on a rooftop. He was shooting at us, and I was behind the 50 caliber machine gun at that time. When he saw me bring the machine gun around and aiming it towards him, he ducked down behind this concrete wall. At that time, I was shooting what was called armor-piercing incendiary rounds. These things are designed to go through tanks for the most part, so really a concrete wall doesn't provide too much protection. So I opened fire. I put about 15-20 rounds into the wall, and one of the rounds passed through the wall, entered his skull, traveled down his spine, and exited his lower back, pretty much pulling all the organs with them, all the internal organs out. It was pretty messy.
If there was one thing I wish students at Wesleyan, or just people in general, understood, was what the reality of combat is, warfare in general. It's an inherently dirty and violent activity that the media, for whatever reason, has just fallen off they're slacking off from their duties of reporting objectively and truthfully what actually goes on. In the United States, and even in Europe to some extent, you get just this sanitized version of what's actually happening over in these countries. When was the last time anyone saw a picture of like a dead soldier or Iraqi? Last estimates I've heard, approximately 100,000 Iraqis, possibly more, have actually died during this conflict. Granted, a lot of that was from civil warfare, but nonetheless, it's the direct result of U.S. actions in that part of the country, or that part of the world. So I wish people had a firmer grasp on what's actually going on over there, because I think if people actually knew what was going on, or had some type of idea of what it was like, there'd be a lot more of a reaction back at home to stop these things from happening. Like, we wouldn't be just invading countries in the Middle East for no reason.